to take like the experience of the communities, of the indigenous communities. That is obviously so important. And I feel that like we're running out of time. But if someone wants to add something to make the final, like some of the final points on these questions, please, you have the opportunity right now. Go ahead if somebody wants to, maybe Mercy or somebody else. In case not, we can just sum up our talk. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe before we end the talk, I think, of course, there was that problematic thing where my PC shut down, but I'm glad that I'm back. Thank you so much, Lankosan, for sharing your thoughts. It was really insightful. And thank you so much, William, for also sharing that insightful submission. And still about the connection, as I was saying before I actually moved out, I was saying that, as Mahmoud shared, that there are some NGOs that are actually going into Congo, trying to tell the government to actually kind of limit these indigenous tribes, the way they use their land. So this is kind of a way they are being marginalized, The thing, because me, I wanted to think about in a broader perspective, we always have this context where like the blame is actually put on those who have the less impact on issues, For example, here we are talking about the indigenous tribes. We actually have a general picture that they have the less impact on climate change in the world, But still, as Mahmoud shared, and actually I read it somewhere in the newspaper, that's why I'm emphasizing it, that there are these NGOs that are actually specifically attacking the indigenous tribes, trying to limit their activities on their land. Yet, there are big industries out there that are being ignored. The activities are being ignored. They are not limited in any way. But then these NGOs, because they want publicity, perhaps they want attention, they're coming down to the indigenous tribes. And I want us to think about it in the broader perspective, because there is this tendency where like attention is actually put on the marginalized, not even the marginalized, but the people who have less impact. So for example, especially this context of the climate change, which is resounding at the moment. If for example, I talk about the thing of cattle, people think that, yes, cows are producing methane. Methane is a very dangerous gas. And then like all the talk is all about how can we actually, maybe we have to tell the nomads, the nomadic pastoralists in Africa, or maybe in other developing countries, to stop rearing these cows. Yet these people are solely relying on these cattle for their life, But then big companies that are producing large amounts of carbon dioxide, those oil exporting countries, they are not told about the dangers they're actually bringing to the planet. So how can we actually try to overcome this? I would call it hypocrisy or pretense of trying to do something, yet there's this perception of trying to get attention, trying to focus attention on actually the marginalized, leaving out the big, how do they call them? The big boys, so to say, or the big companies or something like that. And I feel like that's hypocrisy. And I feel like for the world to move forward, to actually have an impact, if these SDGs are to be actually achieved, we need to move from, trying to put so much, condemnation, on those groups of people who don't actually need to be condemned. Because there are these kind of kings we worship, the big industries. Like, for example, if we talk about the KFC, people actually, they don't want to talk about KFC. Yet KFC, these big companies are the ones that are having a huge impact on climate issues. So I do wonder whether you guys have also come across this kind of scenario, or you have actually thought about it before. But it's something we can actually talk about before we end the dialogue. Just Uncle Sam.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Apollo. This is a really interesting question because it raises a lot of question as well, because we can understand that those who are having less impact are bothered than those who are actually having much impact. But the problem is when it comes to these organizations, mainly the businesses, there is what they have like what they call the social responsibility. We actually know that they are doing bad, but at the same time, they are investing. So it's like I'm killing you, but at the same time, I'm giving you a pill in order to survive what I'm doing to you. I don't know if this analogy is kind of clear, but they are damaging the environment, but at the same time, they are contributing in protecting the environment. So those will be considered as major stakeholders, as partners. When we will be looking at it from this PPP, public-private partnership scheme, they will be more valuable because all these organizations, the government knows that in order to implement all these things, all our goals, we do need them. Maybe there will be technical supporters or there will be financial supporters. So doing somehow certain things to them will definitely means that some of the objective where they are really big player, they won't be involved. And to certain circumstances that can be playing really hard against us. That's the reason why they will just be looking at these people like this without saying anything. When we take this indigenous population not having a huge impact, we try to undermine them because we feel like they are easy to go. There are those who do not have power. So if we just act like on 2, 3, we'll definitely be able to reach a goal. But unfortunately, what we do not take into consideration is as well the impact onto this, because as we were saying previously, they do have the knowledge, they do have all the insight we need in order to solve certain specific questions. So not dealing with them in a sense that they are also major stakeholders who deserve respect, who deserve their voice to be heard, it will definitely be complicated because we'll be taking some action. We'll also put them behind in the will of putting them into the system, creating a framework where they can speak. But when we'll be trying to do this because this is the will, but unfortunately, we won't give them the voice to speak, but we'll put them out because they won't be able to speak, because where we'll be putting them is not the right place for them to be. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's something like this. But now, does it mean that we do not need actually to address a problem when it comes out from the indigenous population? I don't think so. No matter where the problem is exactly, with this old SDGs framework we have now, we should consider every single person as an actor, at the same time as a threat. So no matter where the threat is, even if you are an indigenous guy, we definitely have to address it. No matter where the solution is, even if you are an indigenous guy, we also have to address it. But at the same time, as I was saying, the way to address it will definitely be different according to the power you have, of course, financially and as well as technically and politically. And those people, unfortunately, do not have nothing. And that is why they are always being worked on. Now, how we can solve this is definitely through the different government. Because when we do have an indigenous population, we have a government who has the right to protect them. Actually, this is considered as being part of the human right. So if our government do not take the lead in protecting our indigenous population, we'll definitely be having issue with them and the international organization. As Bosco said, they come with an agenda. But at the same time, it's not because there is an agenda that we have to implement it word by word. We have to kind of try to adapt it to what the context is requiring. It's not because something has been written in the UN that it's necessarily have to be implemented as it is in Uganda. The reality of Uganda is totally different from what have been discussed in there. So we need actually to take the lead in defining them.